how can I get started in fiction writing? Now, if you know me at all, or if you've been listening to the podcast episodes and watching the videos, you'll know that I started off being a shelf stacker. Now, I had a couple of jobs before that, but from where I was as a shelf stacker to suddenly start writing fiction, there is a big gap there. So if you are somebody who is a normie, like I was, if you are interested in taking up fiction writing, you're probably saying, well, that is out of my league. That is nowhere where I am. I haven't done any fiction at school. I haven't done any classes. I haven't bought any books. But you like to get into it. I'm here to tell you that you can. Don't dismiss that idea thinking that you can't, because I did it. And if I can do it, as I say, anybody else can do it. Now, when I started in my fiction writing, again, I was probably like yourself. I had a search on Amazon. I looked at all the books that were there. There was ones on structure, there were ones on storyline, there was ones on themes and all these grammar and all those different things. Now, a lot of people unfortunately will read all those books until the cows come home, and if they haven't been put off by thinking that it's a huge thing to do, they are going to spend maybe weeks, months, maybe years thinking that they need to know all this information before they can do it. It's almost like they need to fill up their head with as much knowledge as they can. But unfortunately, sometimes the best way you can learn anything is actually on the job. If you were learning to drive a car, it's okay watching the videos and the simulations and all that. It's a different story to actually take a car out on the street, drive it around, and you will find that experiences probably live on the street are far different than what is going on in that simulation. So sometimes the best way to gain experience is actually just to get started and do it. And I found that myself. Yes, the first couple of my books sucked, and if I read back through them now, I know I do cringe, but I did find that as I started putting the work in, I started writing book after book. I started getting better at it. My characters got better, my writing got better. I think my storylines and everything got a bit more exciting, a bit more dramatic, and that was only from actually doing the writing. It didn't come about from reading 10 books on structure. It didn't come about from reading books on grammar or pacing or themes and all those different things that, to tell you the truth, you probably don't really need anyway. It's just people who are trying to sell books and, are going to tell you that is the most important thing you need to know. At the end of the day, as long as you please your reader and you keep your reader happy, you keep them entertained for half an hour a day, or whatever it is that they are reading a book, that's the only person you need to please. You don't need to please any of these so-called writing experts that think that, that you need to do this, you need to have this into place, you need to rewrite your draft 100 times, you need to kind of polish it down until it is this kind of perfect diamond. You don't, because you're never going to have it perfect. To tell you the truth, one of the people who everybody looks up to as one of the best writers, now again, I am not knocking him, but I do find his character creation, the start of his books are really good, the middle of his books are really good, but the end of his books are terrible, and that is Stephen King. Now, if somebody like Stephen King can make a big name for himself writing horror books, again, 2/3 of his books are always really good, but the endings are desperate. It's kind of like a balloon blowing around in the room. There's no life to it at all, and it just comes to a disappointing end. And that's why I actually stopped reading his books, is because I never really was satisfied when I closed the back page. So that's one thing to remember. If you can satisfy your reader at the back page, that is going to be the last memory they're going to have of you. So there's probably a chance that they're going to take on another one of your books. But like I said, Stephen King's books just leave me just dead at the end of the book. So that's why I stopped buying them. So if Stephen King can sell books with all the years work of, all these perfect writing that other people will hold up as writing and say it's perfect, and this, if he can sell those books, there's no reason why you can't. So again, how can you get started in fiction writing? Well, for me, the first thing I used to worry about was I used to say, well, how can I come up with a storyline? How can I have the bare bones of a character? I had this girl, or I had this child, or I had this brother and sister. How can I get them from the start of the book to the end of the book? What's going to happen between page 1 and the end at the end? What's going to happen between there? And for the longest time I used to struggle with that. I couldn't understand how could I plot it out? What's going to happen next? Who are they going to meet? Where are they going to go? All those things used to really frustrate me. So if I was to tell you to work somewhere, it would be to work on the plotting of your book. Now, you will find books on plotting. you will find how you can, there's all these different things. There's this sunflower one, there's all this, there's, I don't know, there's a crazy amount, daisy chain, I forget what they were, but there was all these different names and all these different plotting. And again, I read a ton of those books, but they were all telling me conflicting stories. Do it this way, no, do it that way, do it this way. And you know, when you do read all those books, it does kind of leave you wondering, well, what the hell do I use? Which is the best one to use? Well, for me, the easiest part to plotting a book is to forget about the plot and go back to your character. The main thing you need to remember in your fiction books is your characters. Your characters is what your reader is turning up to see. You know, when you went to, say for example, and you mightn't be in my age group, but years ago, if you wanted to see the Star Wars films, you turned up to see Harrison Ford and Chewbacca. You turned up to see Mark Hamill, and you turned up to see probably the Millennium Falcon, because it actually became a character of its own in the movies. But you didn't turn up to see how shiny the Death Star was. You didn't see, you know, you didn't show up to all those kind of things that went on in the background that weren't interesting. Those things that you actually forgot about when you came home from the cinema. You'd always remember maybe Luke Skywalker swinging over the chasm, Luke Skywalker maybe in the lightsaber fight, or how he found out that, you know, Darth Vader was his father. Again, spoilers. But you will find that that is what sticks in your head, and it's the same with your books too. Your characters are what's going to live on longer in your book. I'm sure there's some books you've read probably even months and years ago, and you fell in love with a character, and that character is still living on in your mind. So rather than thinking about, you know, the plotting, the structure and all those different things, get good at your character creation, because the better you get at your character creation, the more those books, the more your reader is going to get involved with your book, because they want to see what's going to happen to your character next. Are they going to overcome that handicap they have? Are they going to overcome that lack of confidence? Are they going to finally find the man of their dreams? Are they finally going to stop being an alcoholic, turn their life around and be the policeman that, you know, their father always wanted them to be, or their kids want them to be, or whatever? But you do read books for the characters. You like to see a character change from the start of the book to the end of the book. Again, the alcoholic becoming the doting sober father. You have maybe the woman at the start of the book who is just having a terrible time, but at the end of it she falls in love and marries a millionaire, or whatever it is. So you read the books to find out how that character is going to change, how they are going to be better at the end of the book. So you need some change to take place in your character, and if you are into fiction writing or looking and not knowing where to start, that is where I would focus on. Get good at your character creation. Now, I have a couple of great courses over in WriteCome. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. And it is on character creation. But if you do go to the WriteCome site, you will find some articles on character creation. Now, when it comes to character creation, you don't want to go with the kind of, you know, generic ones you probably see, like my character is 6 feet tall, he's got black hair, he's got blue eyes, he's got big muscles. This kind of generic, bland, you know, how can anybody fall in love with a character that just comes across as being the equivalent of, you know, a full-size Ken doll with no personality, nothing about them at all? So you need to get deep under the skin of that character. You've got to, you know, have some backstory. What happened to them up until the part of their life? Now, if you've never created characters before, this is going to be, you know, it's going to be unusual. You're going to be coming up with imaginary people in your head. But not only that, but you're actually going to probably have to sit down, interview them, get to know them as well as your family members. Why are they the way they are? Why have they got that tattoo? You know, what are their thoughts on religion, on money, you know, on divorce, on abortion, or all these different things. You're going to want to build that person up in your head just as if they are a real person with likes, dislikes, you know, quirks, tics, you know, disabilities or abilities, or their knowledge and all those different things, and they're just going to be like a real person. And that's what you need to do when you are getting into fiction, rather than working on themes, pacing, storylines and all that. Work on your characters. Go ahead and buy some books on the Amazon store for character creation. I'm sure you'll find some good ones, but again, you will find some good content over on the WriteCome site. I have a lot of articles on character creation and how to create better characters. But again, circling back to that question, I probably did wander off for a little bit, I'm sorry about that, but if you are looking to get into fiction, the best place I would start is get to know your characters, get better at writing characters, write sheets out about your character, you know, the back history, what their family was, what their friends were like, what their school was like, all those different things, and build it up so much in your head. Now, all of this content will probably never go into your book, but the more you know their character, the more you can use that for information for plotting your book. So for example, here if we have the alcoholic cop, you know, what is the worst thing that could happen to him? If I had that character in my head, I would have to come up with a list of the worst things that could happen to him, and then I can use that then for plot points in my book. So there may be a point where maybe he crashes his car at work because he was drunk. There is a chance maybe he could lose his job, and then I can work all those different things in. So as I said, you know, rather than thinking how can I plot your book, the more you find out about your character and the worst things that can happen to your character, you can throw them in ahead of them. So they are going to be the roadblocks, they are going to be the incidents and all the events that are going to happen in that book. That is going to really put them through the ringer. And the more you know about your character, the more you can put them into your book. And your book will simply plot itself, because you are going to try and make that character's life a misery in your book, but at the end they're going to have a happy ending. So again, sorry about going on for maybe too long about this, but if you are looking to get into fiction, start with your character creation. Everything builds on that, and dismiss all those books you need to read on this and that, because at the end of the day, a lot of those people just want to sell books to make money. And if you do read too many of them, you're going to have too many conflicting ideas in your head that are going to totally confuse you and probably put you off writing in the first place. As I said, the best thing to do, get your butt in the seat, start writing and learn on the job. So if you'd like to ask me a question, you'd like me to cover anything on blogging, fiction, non-fiction, low content books or whatever, reach out to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, and hopefully I'll know how to answer that question, and I'll do it in a video or podcast episode. And if you'd like to know more where these videos and podcast episodes are, if you do a search for WriteCome, that's WriteCome.com, you'll find the content all over the web, and in iTunes and in Google and everywhere all over the web, you'll find it there. And if you go over to the WriteCome site right now, we have a great free report which is called Words to Wealth, and in it I'm going to show you 10 ways you can make money from your writing. Now, this might be a good place to start, because again, a lot of people think they need to be a great writer to make money, but I'm here to tell you that you don't, and you can actually make money with only a handful of words. Now, if that intrigues you and you'd like to give it a go, head over to WriteCome, download the free report, and let me know how you get on with it. So, as always, until our next podcast episode or video, have a great day. Bye bye.